Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is a new IFBB Classic Physique Pro. His name, Rory Molnar, and he's got a terrific story, so I want to get him on here to inspire you guys. This has been Inspiration Week here at RXMuscle.com. And Rory, congratulations on the Pro Card victory.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, 32 years old, and you've lived a lot of life already. It's unbelievable what you've gone through, huh?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely been a lot that's happened, but a lot of good things have happened since my past. But
let's take people back. Let's start what happened to you, and then we'll talk about how you achieved what you did, because you were severely into drugs. Tell us how bad your drug habit was.
It was about as bad as it could get, in my opinion.
How did it start?
It was pretty typical. I was young. I got in with the bad crowd when I was very young. I was into smoking pot when I was in like 5th grade.
Wow.
It started very, very young. It was basically that, smoking pot, drinking, and it graduated to, pills and cocaine and eventually heroin, and that became the thing that I did.
How does a young guy find these drugs? Are they that available in schools nowadays?
They're more readily available than alcohol, honestly. People that want to get messed up, it's easier for kids to get drugs, really, than it is to get booze.
It's crazy.
So it's an unfortunate reality, but it's just an epidemic, especially in the schools nowadays. Kids are all getting into heroin and pills and everything at a very young age. It's like very, very sad.
Are kids actually injecting heroin, or are they like snorting it? How are they using it?
Yeah, I think most people start with snorting it just because, it's just scary to inject it. But
right.
If you stick with it long enough, you either will die before you get to the needle or you'll get there. It's kind of.
Is the needle that much better than the nose route?
Yeah, I guess so. It's definitely more. It's definitely more effective.
Right.
It's efficient.
How old were you the first time you took a shot of heroin?
I think I was 23. So my heroin addiction with in terms of intravenous wasn't terribly long, but it escalated very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It started off with, sniffing a couple bags, and soon it was, doing like 50 bags a day. So
wow. What does a bag cost?
What does it cost? It's like a couple $100 a day, really.
Whoa. How do you pay for that? Were you selling the stuff? How did you pay for it?
I worked. I always worked full time. But that didn't cover it. I ended up selling some drugs, and towards the end, I was stealing and doing the stuff that junkies do.
Right.
But
what was the final straw?
It was in 2013. I just hit a low. It was a long time coming. I ended up getting arrested. I think I got like 15 felonies that year.
Oh my God.
And I ended up going to jail. And when I was in jail, I just came to the realization I was either going to change or I was going to die. I was either going to live that life for the rest of my life or I was going to do something about it. So when I got out, I had no place to live. My parents were very supportive. They loved me, and they wanted me to do better. So they did what they needed to do and kind of pushed me out. And that was the best thing that could happen, because if I was under the wing of my parents anymore, I never would have gotten out on my own and gotten better. So I ended up going to a long-term rehab, and I completed that program. And when I got out, I was a year clean.
Wow.
So
you were in there for a year.
I was in there for a year. So I got out. I got my own apartment. In the meantime, I was working a job for a commercial contractor. And, that guy was great. He picked me up every day because I didn't have a license, didn't have a car. And he gave me a really good job, and I continued to work for him when I got out, and pretty much the rest is history. I started to work out a little bit here and there in the meantime, and I always enjoyed being active. I have a background in martial arts when I was younger, and I wrestled in high school, so I was always very athletic, but that kind of went to the wayside when the drugs kind of took over. Right. So I got back into working out, and my sponsor actually had gotten a membership to the gym. So when I got out, I remember I got my tax return, and I was like, I went to the mall, got all the gear, and got like, some new shoes and some gym clothes and a gym membership, and that was it, man. And that was 3.5 years ago.
It's great to trade one addiction for another. Way more productive addiction for bodybuilding, right?
Oh my God, yeah, of course. And you get the same feeling, really. It's just not as direct. You got to work for it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to actually sweat a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Do you still go to meetings and stuff like that?
Yeah. I still go to meetings. I still talk to people. I still have a sponsor, and for me, I'm not willing to really chance it anymore. So, even though bodybuilding takes up a huge part of my life, I make sure that recovery is a part of it also, because without that, there's no anything else.
Right. Are you one of these? Excuse me.
For me, meetings are huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you one of these guys that like every single day you have a desire to do heroin?
No.
Okay, because I know I've talked to other addicts who like that.
There are people that are like that, but I always tell people that that's a huge part of your life, and that's like a driving factor when you're in it. You're motivated to find ways to do whatever you want to do in terms of drugs or whatever. Right. And in order to get past that, you need to find something else that motivates you and become something else. It's like if you're always the same person, you're always going to do the same thing. So you got to change. Right. So that was the biggest thing for me. I found a goal and I wanted to work towards something, and that was probably the biggest part of me continuing to stay sober, was that I found a passion. Because without that, I'd be like sitting there like white knuckling it the whole time, and that's not any way to live. So,
what is your advice if there's guys out there watching now who say, hey, you know what, I'm in the same situation, I'm an addict, I don't know how to get out of it. What's the first step, would you say, to getting clean?
Well, the first thing I think is to be honest with somebody else about it. Because by nature, I think we just like to hide things. Human nature in general, like our flaws, we don't like to just like put them out in the open. And unfortunately, that's kind of what you have to do to get past your addiction, is to reach out. So there's hotlines, there's websites that you can go to, for New Jersey, it's nnja.com for AA meetings and stuff. There's listings and whatnot, and so get to a meeting and find somebody you can talk to. Basically, you have to kind of be at a point where you're ready to do anything. That's kind of where I was at. I was desperate. So until you reach that point, I feel it's kind of like difficult to truly get past it.
Would you be like the sort of person that if someone out there was in your situation and they wanted to contact you, would you be willing to talk to them?
Of course, man. Yeah. I'm always available to talk to people. There's been times when people have reached out to me, and I've been there for them, and I would do that in a heartbeat. So if anybody needs to talk, for sure, you can reach out to me. Reach out to me through Instagram. My Instagram's at rorypovich.com. People think that's my last name.
That's good. Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Rory Povich.
Let's talk about this classic physique thing, because you're a pro now. That means you're really good. Did you know you had this natural talent for physique development, prior to your whole drug thing?
Absolutely not. I never planned on going to the gym and saying, I always aspired, or I was always inspired by bodybuilding, but I never thought I could be involved in the sport, just because I looked at myself and I looked at these guys, and at the time there was no classic physique. So
Right.
there was men's physique, and I wasn't so interested in that. And there was bodybuilding, and I'm like, man, I'm not really on that level.
Right.
So it was a nice segue, but in the time that I got sober, I put on probably 55 pounds of muscle, I'd say.
Crazy.
And yeah, it was wild. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have any intention of becoming a bodybuilder or getting involved or doing a show. I started working out, and people were telling me, yeah, you should do a show. And enough people told me to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to do a show. And I just made it my next goal.
Sure.
So that's kind of how it started. And actually, I was watching some videos, and I wanted to go up to Bev's to get Steve's opinion, which probably at the time might have not been a great idea, but because I looked terrible. But I ended up meeting Justin up there.
Justin Miller, yeah, my friend.
Yeah, he took a look at me and saw some of my poses and said, you got something that you can work with, but you got a lot of work to do. So that was a year and almost 2 years ago now, and yeah, we put some work in, and we did Atlantic States last year. Was my first show, and I won that show, and or I won that class, my class B in that show, and then I went on to Universe, and I was terrible. I was so nervous. I looked around, and I think I immediately was just flooded with cortisol and was just like,
right.
Yeah, it looked terrible. But that was my mission statement was, next year I'm going to come in. I don't care what happens, but I'm going to be 100%.
Well, and that's pretty ballsy. Your second show ever, you were up on a pro qualifier stage, so you probably were in over your head, experience-wise, really.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know that I necessarily belonged there, but it was a good experience. It was definitely something I needed. It was humbling, for sure.
Yeah. So you come back this year. How many pounds of muscle did you gain from the last year?
From last year, I was on stage at 193 at Atlantic States, and I was 197.
Wow.
I was 199 this year.
Okay.
So it was like 6 pounds of muscle, but I think the condition increased too. So
sure. So now you're a pro. I mean,
it was a very good year.
You're a pro now. I mean,
10 pounds to gain.
Okay. Do you feel like is it like a letdown now? Because after you win, it's like, all right, now what do I do?
Honestly, I actually had that feeling where I was ecstatic, but we were packing up everything in the hotel room, and I was like sad. I'm like, man, it's like vacation's over or something.
Yeah. It happened too fast, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was just done, and then man, now it's back to real life. But yeah, I mean, it was overall probably one of the best experiences of my life.
Cool.
And I got to share it with my girlfriend and my daughter and my family, and it was awesome.
Is your family like in shock that you actually have overcome the heroin addiction, and now you actually have done something crazy productive?
Yeah, they're so proud. They tell me very often. My father is like 30 years sober from drinking.
Wow.
So he kind of had a difficult time with me because he always wanted me to do the right thing, and
sure.
He had a hard time balancing what he could do and what he couldn't do, to help me. But now, yeah, they're very proud of me, and they're amazed. My dad is always telling me, he's like texting me saying, "Oh, hey, Mr. Pro, what are you doing? What are you doing now?" It's just wild. They're not, they don't know much about bodybuilding, but they're very supportive.
Do you guys have you and Justin, have you picked out a pro show you want to do next year?
Not quite. I just know that for me, I want to take a full year at least. So what I was saying is maybe Tampa, but that's speculation right now.
Right.
I'm not really sure. I just know that I want to grow and keep making improvements, but also have a little bit of some normalcy for a while.
Yeah.
Just get back to normal enjoy my daughter. She's 2. She just turned 2 on the 23rd, and
Awesome.
you know, there was a lot of times that was a week out, and I was like at her birthday party, sleeping on the couch. So I felt pretty bad, but you know, it was worth it. It's definitely worth it.
They don't really, at 2 years old, they don't really know anyway.
No.
Next year, my son's 2.5. They don't know
It
yet.
was just all the family and the in-laws
Right.
are like, what the hell is this guy doing sleeping on the couch?
Well, Rory, congratulations. Huge win. Got the pro card. We'll see you on a pro stage next year. You've overcome the addiction. If people want to get in touch with him, check out his Instagram. You know, I think the message you're sending is terrific. There's a lot of people suffering with addiction out there. If you could overcome a serious heroin addict heroin addiction the way you did, and come out on top the way you have, isn't that the American dream, really?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And you know, I'm definitely very enthusiastic about helping people. So if anybody does want to reach out, for sure, please do. Don't hesitate. And I mean, there's certainly a way to overcome this. And you know, if I can do it, anybody can. Because I'm at heart pretty lazy. I really don't like to do that much. But when it comes to bodybuilding, I kind of took that in a different direction. And so. But yeah, so thank you very much for having me on the show.
Sure, and enjoy the victory and enjoy that IFBB Pro card. I'm sure you'll be purchasing it very shortly to have it in your wallet.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much.
All right, and that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.